Well, welcome everyone to Thursday Night Live. I'd like to thank you for being here. We have a lot of notes and a lot of things to get to tonight, so let's start by something I got in change this week. That is a good old $5 bill. Hello, Dan. Thanks for being here. You don't see these as often. I was shocked to get this in change. Got a good 30 plus years on it, but still together. Now, there's nothing special about it other than you just don't see them very often, so I might hang on to it. Might put it back out for someone else to find. Now let's stay with the $5 bills for now. A friend of mine asked me recently, why do you see so many South Carolina obsoletes? Well, there's a very good reason for that. First of all, you see a lot of these Bank of the State of South Carolina. I say that very specifically because there are also notes from the Bank of South Carolina and State Bank, South Carolina. But this is Bank of the State of South Carolina. It has that famous sweet potato vignette in it with General Francis Marion offering a British officer a sweet potato lunch. You see this on a lot of notes. And I think I'm going to start by just reading you an excerpt from the South Carolina Department of Archives and History website. And they explain it this way, referring to the Bank of the State of South Carolina. The bank, chartered in 1812, provided a stable currency for South Carolina during most of its 56 years of operation. Economic collapse at the end of the Civil War ruined the bank, and in 1868 it was officially closed. Notes issued by the bank before December 20th, 1860, that is the date of secession, were declared redeemable for 20-year bonds. These notes were destroyed after their redemption. The notes that were issued post-secession were declared worthless until a new act by the legislature passed in 1879 stipulated that these notes could be exchanged for bonds at half value. That is this note. Over $770,000 of banknotes were turned in between the beginning of 1880 and July 1881. These notes were counted and canceled by a metal punch, certified and bundled. This currency was to be destroyed, but charges of fraud and the investigations that followed halted this process. The notes were stored in the basement of the State House until 1961, when 40 boxes of notes were transferred to the Department of Archives and History. And again, that is an excerpt direct from their website. So that's the story in 2 paragraphs. That's why you see so many Bank of the State of South Carolina notes. You also see a lot of South Carolina, or rather State of South Carolina script, and I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute. I don't know if this will come through, and this is a stamp partly from some of those court cases. I don't know if this will come through on the video, but there's one of the cuts that go all the way through the note. Okay. All right. This is what I call an ornate 5. You don't see these as often as you see these. These are very common. I'm sure all of you have probably seen these. I like the colors on this note. Okay. Now, this is an 1861 version from Bank of the State of South Carolina. Okay, here's the State of South Carolina. Now we're moving into script. This one's dated January 1866. Looks slightly different, but still a very nice Very nice note. In just a moment, I'm going to show you 3 more versions of this note, or rather 2 more versions, and another Confederate note where you will see this vignette. Let me take a moment and say hello to everybody. I see Polar Currency, I see Edward, I see Keystone Stacker, Banknote Dan, Star Atlanta. Thank all of you for being here. I really appreciate it. Now, this note has a real pretty back on it. Most of them, as you know, has nothing. They have nothing on the back. So now I'm going to try and share this screen and show you some more notes. Okay. Hopefully you can see this okay. Now, remember the 2 I showed you, one from 1861 and one from 1866? Well, this is an 1872 version. Look right here. Over here on the right. Okay. This is revenue bond script. I guess I should tell you who the other 2 gentlemen are. The gentleman on the left is General Thomas Sumter, and the man on the right is General William Moultrie. The general in the central vignette that's offering the sweet potato dinner is General Francis Marion. Now, all of these generals, if you don't know who they are South Carolina Revolutionary War heroes. Okay, this is the 1872. Let's roll forward here. And guess what? Here's an 1873. Again, look over here on the right-hand side above the portrait. See the date, December 1873. So this vignette was used quite a bit on notes here in South Carolina. It was also used on a Confederate note. This is the T30 $10 Confederate note. So they really like this vignette. Now, I'm going to stop sharing here a moment. And let's go to another little group of notes here. These are not as common. This is from the Bank of Hamburg, South Carolina. And this is a city that no longer exists. I'll be doing a video, a more in-depth video about that at a future time. But this one is titled, let me get this right now, Moneta, excuse me, I'm going to eventually learn not to hit that camera. Moneta with strongbox. Some people describe it as Moneta with treasure chest. And some pretty weak-looking eagles on each side. Let's get up here and see it's like a steamboat and a train. That's kind of cool. This one's dated 1847. What I want you to notice about this note is the date is handwritten. Okay? This is where you can get into different varieties of obsoletes. This is basically the same note, except the date is printed, 1853. This is considered another variety. There is also one from 1850. So, again, some fun things to look for when you're collecting obsoletes. This is a very nice note here. I ran across this one in a coin shop and picked it up. That one will be going into PCGS for grading. Let me share my screen once more. And I'll show you some South Carolina. Well, I told you I would show you some South Carolina Railroad script. This is also quite common. You see this type of thing all the time. You can go out on eBay and find this. Almost always there's several of these out there for sale. I like the 5 with the train on it. And these are fairly reasonable, usually $100 or less. Now, this is the Confederate T14, which is a $50 Confederate note. And look at the vignette. The same moneta with the strongbox, or treasure chest, if you will. Okay. A little bit more here tonight. I think you'll find this next group also very interesting. This is a little bit of fractional currency from the same period, dated 1861, from, you guessed it, Bank of the State of South Carolina, 25 cents. Here's what's fun about this. It's printed on another bill. Louisville, Cincinnati, and Charleston Railroad. This is a $1.75 note. Now, I don't have one of those notes because they're considered extremely rare, if you can find one that's not cut into pieces. But here is a copy of one. This is a copy. It was printed by the American Banknote Company with the original plate. But I think it's kind of cool. We can lay this over the top of that, and you get the idea of what it would have looked like. I'm hoping to go back and try to find one that, is the other piece here. I'd like to find another one of these so that I could get at least the biggest part of one note. Probably as close as you'd ever get. But I like that kind of stuff. Let's see. Let's take a look at the comments. Oh, amazing how much better the engraving is on the obsolete than the Confederate. Yes, that's very true. Yes, those are beautiful railroad notes. They really are. Speaking of railroad, I've got a couple more things here. I picked that up strictly for the vignette. I saw it, said I have to own that. It's a really, really pretty vignette. Of course, when I got it here and got it up close and looked at it, it's a spurious note. This bank never existed, just the note existed. You can see the name, the signatures are printed on there. That's not signed. The date, of course, is printed. The only thing that's handwritten looks like the serial number, which means nothing. Still a pretty note. It's a contemporary counterfeit. Still worth having in your collection. And this note was very inexpensive. Very low. I think I paid like $50 for it or something. Not very much. That was printed by Ormsby, W.L. Ormsby. I don't know if that'll come through on here. Right under the train is his name there. I don't know if you can see it. He was kind of notorious for this kind of thing, both illegitimate and legitimate. So kind of lived in both worlds. And finally, I bought my first note on Whatnot. It's kind of rough around the edges, but I want to thank my friend Dean for letting me know that this particular seller was on, and I was able to pick this up for a very reasonable price, less than $200. This is a very rare note. I wouldn't be surprised if there's less than 12 of these remaining. You can see it was cut in half and reattached. So this one will be going in for grading. I want to preserve this note before it's too late. These are the kinds of things you can find on your obsolete journey. Yeah, Dan says that has to be one of the best locomotive vignettes he's ever seen. He's absolutely right. That's a heck of a vignette. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and please let your friends know about this about these videos rather. And I usually do this on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and thanks for stopping by.